And where we begin?
Uh, Same script, same cast, same story, same saga. Banyana Banyana on the eve of a big tournament, and SAFA has dropped the ball once again. Um, at this point in time, right, Jay, there seems to be some sort of agreement in terms of they're going to continue with the tournament. In fact, they played a friendly this Saturday, but initially they weren't paid their fees that were due to them for the months of April and May. And so they go into this Wafcon tournament to defend the actual thing without their monies being sorted out. Jay, why is it the same problem over and over again? Number one, and two, where's the respect for the girls?
If nothing changes, nothing changes, Chuck.
Yeah,
The answer to your first question, why is it the same problem? Because we see the same people who are still in power, right? And I mean, this conversation has been dragged out in terms of it's time for new blood, it's time for new leadership, it's time to move in a different direction. If not that, it's time for a new mindset, And we saw SAFA being dragged in front of the committee, and they were asked all sorts of questions, and they couldn't account. And in terms of the financial situation, yeah, it read as a dire script.
yeah.
And so when these matters come up, now you do have the context of the coffers are not quite good over there at SAFA House. But at the same time, Chuck, it shouldn't be like this. Should never be like this, because the reason that Banyana Banyana had staged a sit-in and refused to train is because the monies that were owed to them were for games that they had already played, right?
Yeah.
It was the games against Malawi, it was the games in the Three Nations against Botswana and Zambia. And you know what? On the one hand, I commend the our female football players, and I love that they are able to come together and be unified and take these steps. We remember what happened prior to the World Cup, right? And now again, and this is what I always say, Chuck, that you need to be able to organize. We're gonna have a conversation around the Club World Cup, and we heard the comments from the club, in terms of the load on the players, and we've heard from Kevin De Bruyne before, a similar conversation. But here we are playing the Club World Cup, and the solution to it is you need to organize and you need to be unified. You need to have a players' union, whatever the case may be, and come to an agreement that unless our demands are heard, we're not going to play because we are the product, right? And in terms of Banyana Banyana defending Wafcon champions, the pride of the nation, they're going to the Wafcon to try to defend, of course, and you can't have a situation whereby it might mess with them playing in the tournament. But here we are, and these are the lens that they continuously have to go to in order to get what is due to them. This is not greed. This is not them wanting a bigger piece of the pie than what is actually owed to them. And they can't even get that, Chuck. And when you see the unavailability of some of these players, Tembi Kgatlana is not at the WAFCON because of personal reasons. We don't know exactly what that is. We've heard Jermaine Sipasenyo saying that this is the last time she'll turn out for Banyana Banyana. She's retiring after the WAFCON, and we spoke about the fact that Noko Matlo also retired this year. Yes, she's 40, but she could have retired at 39. She could have held out for a few more months. Why did she retire when she did? And you speak to people in the know, and you hear things, Chuck. You hear rumblings with regards to the unhappiness of Banyana Banyana players around the national team. And it's sad. It really is sad for me to hear that time and again, ahead of major tournaments, this is what happens, and these are the lens these girls have to implement again in order to get what is theirs.
I mean, I was saying to a friend of mine, right, to Ikram Reina's won man of the match accolade, and we are in a 7 million rand. And I said to myself, joking, right, in jest, thank goodness there was not a Banyana Banyana match, because if that person was a Banyana Banyana player who had won the man of the match award with the money that's due to them, chances are somehow Tenicho Run will find a way to withhold the money from them, because same thing with the World Cup, right? There was money due to the players, and somehow it went through some pipeline, some structure that it was delayed in terms of getting to the players, the money that belonged to the players. Jay, whenever we've seen these such protests, we've always said to ourselves initially, right, when we first heard of them with the African countries mainly, and it's happened with other nations as well, the players are being greedy. They earn enough in the clubs, what, why now? But when things happen over and over again, you realize that African football has a problem, number one. Number two, with Banyana Banyana, it's not the first time, like we said. This has to be their platform of protest, because if you protest Manj, they'll find other girls. But if you get the squad ready and you're already there in Morocco and you're like, nope, we're not going to do it at the biggest stage, That's only when people will listen, because I don't think it's the first time they're having this conversation with Funimali. They're protesting because they've said it once, twice, 3 times, and to no avail. The other thing, Jay, is that Desiree Ellis is still coaching without a contract, having last spoken to SAFA about this contract in June 2024.
14 months.
14 months, still waiting
14
for it to
months.
be a valid thing, whereas you're a employee, you coach by Banyana Banyana officially, here's your pay package, here are the terms and conditions of the contract. We don't know under what terms and conditions she's working.
I heard someone say, why doesn't she just walk away? What job? What
To
job?
what?
If you're being very honest, like what job is waiting for Desiree Ellis if she walks away from Banyana Banyana in terms of whatever pay package that she might be getting from Banyana Banyana? Perhaps, right? Opportunities might be there on the continent, but you've seen what happens in Nigeria. You know, you've seen what happens like in the other countries, and that's so we don't think there's a PSL team or an NFD team that is waiting for a Desiree Ellis to become available, regardless of her accolades, and saying, "Come in and help us to our goals here on the men's side." You know, so. It's very easy to say, why doesn't she just walk away? But what kind of leverage does she have? Like, what does she have to fall back on if she walks away from this gig? You know?
I mean, her hands are firmly tied. She has to then continue soldiering on, because if she doesn't, like you said, where will she find her employment? And the other thing, J-Man, it's all these people who've done well. I get it if it was Team X that didn't do anything, but these are defending Wafcon champions. They've been to the World Cup. Desiree Ellis has turned this whole thing around as far as how we feel about Banyana, how we see Banyana Banyana, because of the actual accolades and wins under her belt. So it doesn't make sense that these women are still protesting for money that's due to them. It doesn't make sense that this is the same script over and over again. And like you said, if things don't change at the top, at the bottom, what we'll see filter down is the same nonsense that we've been seeing time and time again. It's high time that, I mean, Banyana Bafana were protesting. It's been a long time since Banyana Bafana protested for their money, because I think at some point Benny led the protest and what. It's been a while. That one, somehow those files have been put out. Now it's Banyana's baby to deal with. So it's unfortunate that time and time again this happens. We already know in the local leagues, for the girls who are playing locally, there's not much money. The ones who are fortunate enough to be playing abroad are the ones who can make a proper living of football. But the rest of them, they were depending on the Banyana money. They were happy to be representing Banyana Banyana because of the money that comes with it. But if you have to fight for that, even, that's why I see about Tembi and about Jermaine saying it's not worth it. You fly from wherever you're based to Africa to represent your country, and then you have to fight still to get what's due to you. So, yeah, those rumors and that noise validated, Jay.